I never thought my sister's wedding would be the day everything changed. Looking back, I should have known something was wrong when my invitation arrived 3 days before the ceremony. Kitchen staff entrance only, it read in elegant gold script with a crude arrow drawn pointing to the back of the venue. My sister Victoria had always been the golden child. While I chose to work with underprivileged children as a teacher, she climbed the corporate ladder with perfectly manicured nails and designer heels. Our parents never let me forget the difference between us. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Mom would say, shaking her head at my simple clothes and practical shoes. "Look at her, engaged to James Anderson, CEO of Anderson Industries. And what do you have to show for yourself?" What they didn't know was that I had plenty to show, just not in ways they could understand. My small apartment might not be impressive, but the smiles of my students when they finally grasp a difficult concept, those are worth more than any luxury condo. Still, I went to the wedding. Victoria was my sister, after all, even as she'd grown more distant since getting engaged to James. I put on my best dress, not designer, but elegant in its simplicity, and drove my old Honda Civic to the Grand Plaza Hotel. The security guard at the main entrance took one look at my invitation and pointed to the back. "Service entrance only," he said gruffly. I found myself walking through the hotel's kitchen, dodging busy staff preparing for what was clearly going to be an extravagant reception. A hostess led me to a small table tucked behind a large pillar, practically hidden from the main celebration. Victoria's instructions were very clear, she said apologetically. Family members who might embarrass the couple should be kept out of sight. My hands trembled as I sat down. The table was set with plastic utensils, while I could see fine china gleaming on the other tables. A handwritten note in my sister's flowing script sat next to the plastic fork. "Know your place, little sister. Don't ruin this for me." I should have left then. Should have walked out and never looked back. But something made me stay. Perhaps the same stubborn determination that made me choose teaching over the corporate career my parents demanded. The ceremony was beautiful, of course. I watched from my hidden corner as Victoria floated down the aisle in a gown that probably cost more than my yearly salary. James Anderson waited at the altar, tall and distinguished in his custom tuxedo. He was handsome in that polished way that Grace magazine covers, but something about his expression seemed strained. Then he saw me. In that moment, as his eyes met mine across the crowded room, James Anderson, CEO of Anderson Industries, did something completely unexpected. He dropped his wedding ring. The small golden band made a distinct ping as it hit the marble floor and rolled, coming to rest right at my feet. As I bent to pick it up, memories from 15 years ago came flooding back. I was 19, working my way through college at a small coffee shop in Boston. He was 22, a regular customer who always ordered the same thing: black coffee, no sugar. Back then, he wasn't James Anderson, CEO. He was just Jamie, a graduate student with dreams of changing the world through ethical business practices. We'd spent 6 beautiful months together, sharing dreams and plans for the future. He wanted to revolutionize corporate responsibility. I wanted to teach. We talked about combining our passions somehow, maybe starting a foundation for education. Then he disappeared. No explanation, no goodbye. Just vanished from my life completely. I tried to find him, but it was like he never existed. A year later, I saw his photo in a business magazine. James Anderson, heir to Anderson Industries, engaged to a wealthy socialite. My heart broke all over again. Now here he was, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost, while my sister, his bride, watched in confusion. "Jamie," I whispered, holding out his wedding ring. The color drained from his face. Victoria's perfectly plucked eyebrows furrowed in confusion. "James, darling, do you know my pathetic little sister?" But James wasn't looking at his bride anymore. His eyes were fixed on my left hand, where I still wore the small silver ring he'd given me 15 years ago at that coffee shop in Boston. The one with the inscription, "To my Emma who taught me what really matters." "Emma," he breathed, and in that one word, I heard 15 years of regret. Victoria's voice turned sharp. "James, what's going on?" Before he could answer, a distinguished older man rose from the front row. Richard Anderson Sr., James's father and founder of Anderson Industries. His face was thunderous as he approached the altar. "Son," his voice carried across the suddenly silent room. "Please tell me this isn't the same Emma." The same Emma. The words hung in the air like storm clouds. What did he mean, the same Emma? James straightened his spine, and for a moment I saw the Jamie I used to know, the one who wanted to change the world. Yes, father, he said clearly. This is Emma Chen, the woman you paid $5 million to disappear 15 years ago. The room erupted in chaos. Victoria's perfect wedding dissolved into chaos. Guests began whispering, phones recording everything. My sister's face had turned an interesting shade of red that clashed horribly with her white dress. $5 million? I stood up slowly, my teacher's salary suddenly feeling very different. You paid me to disappear? Richard Anderson Sr. straightened his expensive tie. I paid your mother. She assured me you'd never contact James again. Said you agreed it was for the best. My mother. Of course. The pieces started falling into place. Mom's sudden insistence that I transfer universities that year, the mysterious deposit in my college fund, her constant reminders that James, was out of my league. You knew? I turned to my mother, who was trying to disappear into her seat. You took money to separate us? It was for your own good. Mom stood, her designer dress rustling. Look at you, a teacher living in a tiny apartment. James needed someone who could understand his world. Victoria was perfect for him. Perfect. James laughed bitterly. Perfect for the company image, you mean? Just like that socialite you tried to set me up with after Emma left. Did you tell Victoria about that too, father? How you've been orchestrating my relationships for 15 years? Victoria finally found her voice. James, darling, surely you're not comparing my worthless sister to me. I mean, look at her dress, it's not even designer. No, James said quietly, it's handmade. Emma always said the most valuable things are made with love, not money. He turned to me. You still make your own clothes. I nodded, throat tight. He remembered. This is ridiculous. Richard Anderson Sr. boomed. Son, you have responsibilities. The merger with Victoria's father's company. The merger? James's voice turned cold. Is that what this wedding is really about, father? Another business deal? Victoria went pale. What do you mean, a business deal? Oh, didn't you know? James turned to her. Your father's company is failing. This marriage would save it. That's why he pushed so hard for you to date me, isn't it? Victoria's father jumped up. Now see here. But James wasn't finished. He reached into his tuxedo jacket and pulled out a USB drive. I found some interesting documents last week, father, about what really happened 15 years ago, about the real reason you wanted Emma gone. Richard Anderson Sr.'s face turned ashen. James. Emma wasn't just my girlfriend back then, James continued, his voice carrying across the silent room. She was also volunteering at a youth center in South Boston, a youth center that was about to be demolished for one of our developments, a development that would have displaced hundreds of families. I remembered that fight. The community had been organizing protests, and I'd been helping them. James had been supportive, even talked about finding alternative locations for the development. Emma was organizing the community, James went on. She was good at it too, really good. The media was starting to pay attention. If that development had failed, it would have cost the company millions. But more importantly, it would have shown that Anderson Industries could be beaten. That's why she had to go, isn't it, father? Richard Anderson Sr. collapsed into his chair. So you paid her mother to make her disappear. James's voice was ice. You destroyed evidence of our relationship. You even donated to her new university to ensure she'd be accepted for a transfer. Also perfectly arranged. I did what was necessary for the company, his father muttered. The company? James laughed. The company that's now mine? He turned to the shocked guests. Oh yes, as of last week, I'm the majority shareholder. Father signed over control as an early wedding gift. Ironic, isn't it? He walked over to me, ignoring Victoria's squeak of protest. Emma, he said softly, I spent 15 years thinking you'd abandoned me. 15 years trying to be the son my father wanted. Then last week, I found these documents and I finally understood. I was going to stop the wedding. But then I saw your name on the guest list. Seated in the kitchen, I added dryly. Of course, he smiled. Victoria always did have a flair for drama. He turned to my sister. The wedding's off, by the way. You might want to check your father's company's financials before he tries to arrange another merger. Victoria screamed, throwing her bouquet at us. It hit a champagne pyramid instead, sending crystal glasses crashing to the floor. As my first act as CEO, James announced over the chaos. Anderson Industries is establishing a $100 million foundation for educational initiatives in underserved communities. He looked at me. We need a director who understands both education and community organizing. Interested? My mother jumped up. Emma, darling, I always knew you had potential. Save it, I cut her off. I think you've done enough helping for one lifetime. I turned to James. The foundation job, does it come with a corner office? He grinned. Only if you'll have dinner with me first. I know this little coffee shop in Boston. You can't do this, Victoria shrieked. Daddy, do something. But her father was already rushing out, phone in hand, probably calling his accountant. Richard Anderson Sr. stood up shakily. Son, think about what you're doing. Oh, I have, father. For 15 years. James took my hand. The company's image could use some updating, don't you think? Less corporate greed, more social responsibility. Emma always said the measure of success isn't how much money you make, but how many lives you improve. My sister launched into another screaming fit, but I barely heard her. I was looking at the small silver ring I'd never taken off, remembering a young man in a coffee shop who wanted to change the world. You kept it, James said softly, touching the ring. You came back, I replied. 6 months later, the Anderson Chen Educational Foundation had already funded 50 community programs. Victoria eventually married a minor European prince, who, ironically, believed in socialist policies. My parents suddenly became very interested in charitable giving, though their invitations to family events mysteriously get lost in the mail. Richard Anderson Sr. retired to a villa in Italy, though he did send a surprisingly heartfelt letter of apology. I framed it next to the newspaper article about our foundation's launch. As for me and James, we still go to that coffee shop in Boston. He still orders black coffee, no sugar. But now when we talk about changing the world, we actually do it. The small silver ring finally has a companion. A simple gold band that matches it perfectly. The inscription, to my James, who came back to what really matters. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting it right.